Oh.
Let's try this, then. Let's try this dance. Hello, everyone. I'm the last Omnitect, your favorite robot American. This is Unicorn Head Studios, where I do my tabletop role-playing Let's Plays, and I'm hoping that we've finally got this shit going. We are on the right channel on Unicorn Head Studios?
Yeah.
Let's fucking go!
Yeah, you're there.
Oh my god. Okay, so every stream that I do, I'm gonna have to disconnect myself on one. I'm gonna literally have to manually use stream keys every time, is what that means. How do other YouTubers, how do you do this? How do you fucking do this multiple channel shit? Anyway, oh my god, we're here. We live. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for the subs. So, welcome to the maiden voyage of Unicorn Head Studios. I'm the last Omnitect, and this is my incredible motley crew in Legacy First Flight, our fast and light tale in the world of tomorrow. Huzzah! Camera's on, we're officially on. Let's go as we all flip on one by one. Oh, I'm so happy. Guys, I'm so happy it finally fucking worked. Okay. I realize it's dropped like 4 F-bombs right at the start of the video, which I will edit out later, in order for this to not be instantly demonetized. Oh, I'm already demonetized. What do I care? I don't have any monetization yet. You don't get that until, I think, 500 to 1,000 subscribers. Speaking of, follow and subscribe this channel for more quality content.
More swearing.
Oh, that's
Yes.
Sometimes we go live
swearing
in the right
into the
time,
voice.
in the right place.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to take a moment here, and we're going to quickly go through everybody. We're going to say hi. That'd be KO, who is not present today.
I see 2 there. Hopefully.
Yeah, mine is off too.
JJ, why? Why, JJ? Why?
Damn it, JJ.
I don't know.
Why is it? Why? What is going on? Hold on. I think maybe I know it might be.
Okay,
it might not be your fault. It's probably not your fault.
I can be a little ghost today.
I really
I'm
don't
fine
want
with
you to
that.
be a little ghost. That's the whole point. What is the point of a live stream if I can't have you guys here? Okay. So let's see. There's that. JJ Kim. Oh wait, hold on. So that's it. So that's there. Man, it is just gonna be that day, isn't it? It's just gonna be.
It's okay.
That day. I know. Just aggravating is all. Alright, so let's see. I can get this. I don't want picture-in-picture. I just want your link. Alright, which one did you click on, JJ? Did you actually click on yours? Just to make sure?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want, I can leave and come back in just to double check.
Let's do that very fast.
Yeah.
Let's very quickly pop you in and out.
Cool.
This is how you all know this is 100% a live stream, because I'm absolutely fucking this up.
Technical issues are the hallmark of all live-streamed APs.
Yes, it is true. Okay, so let's make sure this works. Okay.
That was a sound.
Alright, it says you're on, and you're on. Okay, yeah. It was just you needing to jump in and out. It was literally not my fault. That's right. One technical issue, not my fault. Let's go. So.
We take what we can get.
We definitely take what we can get today. So, without further ado, who wants to do a recap of what happened last session so we can actually get to the part of the thing we were here for? The actual broadcast. God forbid.
We got an arm.
We did. Let's start from the beginning.
To actually analyze it.
All right, yeah, okay. Let's start from the start. Who wants to start from the beginning of the episode so it's not just a disjointed mess? I want people to actually be able to follow what happened last session.
Who needs order? That's just wild.
I can't remember jack about last episode. Jesus Christ.
Worst
Dude,
case.
you can't remember what you did yesterday. Like, you can't remember what you did this morning.
Worst case,
like
I
there's
can do the recap. I'm perfectly
Okay.
fine with that. All right.
We've got this, we've got this.
We've got
Yeah,
like
we've got
3
this.
note takers here. Okay, why do I need to take notes? We have 3
Right.
note takers.
Right. Okay. So first things first is that we were given the gauntlet. We all had a big discussion about this box that Amaya, my character, had, and what's in the box? What's in the box? You know, it was a very meme-worthy moment. And basically, as we were heading out of the meeting, we received a message saying that we had a visitor who was going to come. And we were all like, ooh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Who is that? So we went to go on our ship to go meet this lovely new person. I don't know if I should. I don't know if anybody else wants to pop in here or...
Yeah, at this point, I feel like we can take a moment to say we did, in fact, get a new player in the stream. The last stream was actually our incredible friend Lolly's first arrival, so everyone wave hi to Lolly.
Hi, Lolly. Nice to meet you.
Oh, hi, do I know you? That's funny because I'm married to him.
Yes, it is.
To explain.
Yeah, so then we met Zenith, our wonderful new member. And let's see. Okay, all of these notes are about what she looks like, because I need to know.
There was some slightly mixed reviews of meeting Zenith, because Zenith is an Anazali, and you've had some issues with Anazali in the past, and Becky's response was to run away really fast and just
our AI, who is still a little racist, still a little bit. We're working on it.
Yep, we're having some integration therapy with our Anazali buddy.
Just
exposure therapy.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Just takes a little bit, you know.
Let's see. Then we opened the box, got to look at the gauntlet that we received. It had, if I'm remembering correctly, a hand inside of it.
It did.
Zenith had a look at it, went plop, and just dropped a hand and just,
you know. It's like, oh, that's nice. What a lovely little surprise. It's a gift inside of a gift, you know. And let's see. I think that Becky and Zenith were both gonna look and kind of study the gauntlet, see what information they could get for it. And that we were. I'm trying to figure out where we were. I'm reading my notes real fast.
Let's not forget who the hand belonged to. One of the champions in the god.
In a local fighting, in
a
a fighting tournament
ring
organized by one of the corporations. Yeah.
Yes.
And we rolled sufficiently high to recognize it.
Yes, 100%.
I think the person, I have it on here that the person worked for the Natali Mining Corporation.
Correct.
Which is owned
that's
by
what I've got.
Click. It's a boxing circuit. I put kind of like UFC Bloodsport, but virtually done.
Pretty much. Yep. It's pretty much Mortal Kombat, but it's done virtually. And anyone out there who's ever played Unreal Tournament, the video game, it's basically Unreal Tournament, more or less.
I know from the bit of looking at it that Zenith does, she finds it's kind of staticky and weird, and the hand itself has got a weird cellular structure. It's like a human hand, but with silicon-like type cells, which is a bit more like you'd expect of Anazali. And the gauntlet is super perfectly molded to an almost organic level to the hand. So it's like, interesting.
Yeah. So
gross, but most interesting.
So you guys began researching that, and
Study buddies. We were study buddies.
Your study buddies.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, Becky's gonna stop being scared of Zenith for a second and actually interact with her.
And I believe you guys left the world you were on, which is the JSA's homeworld of Lavara, on the way out to your next mission, because you had a little bit of time, like a couple of days, between point A and point B.
Yeah, I think like 3 days or something.
It's always 3 days. It's a day and a half out, space fold instantly to wherever you want to go. It's a day and a half back, so you don't blow everything up where you land. Pretty much.
Because that's considered quite a rude way to greet your hosts.
It's just not nice to, teleport a multi-ton ship and create a megaton explosion where you're visiting. Usually not nice.
Apparently that is poor etiquette, honestly.
Frowned
it's
on.
just frowned on.
Yes. JJ, you and I, same wavelength. So, with that, we pick up where we left off with our Voyagers, now slowly coasting towards their new location. We should probably start.
Oh, and we had a meeting with Oren.
You did have a meeting with Oren, catching him up. Oren Orin being their handler. Our players are Voyagers, and basically their whole shtick is that they're going around the galaxy and ensuring that any ruins from ancient times are largely being handled and contained.
And Amaya noticed that he kind of recognized the technology we were dealing with, but it wasn't like for sure. It was kind of one of those,
Yeah, Orin's definitely hiding some secrets, but what a surprise. Orin's hiding secrets. That's not at all the standard.
And he also confirmed that Zenith is not a spy, so that was nice.
Yes.
That was Becky's main concern,
We have established the baseline that our player characters are in fact player characters and not me with my hands stuffed up someone's rear through a webcam controlling their actions.
Dude, you gotta get consent for that first, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, at least a couple dinners
Just
and
go for it.
preferably like at least a couple dinners and hopefully a couple months into the relationship before that kind of action can happen.
Come on now.
Yeah. So, I do want to take a moment to just say, in addition to my incredible 4 players here, we do have 5th player, K.O. Myers, an incredible person, also known as Gen Vexed, on Blue Sky. Unfortunately, K.O. is sick today, so we send all of our love. Take care, buddy. Feel better soon. And with that, I will say that our incredible Shrike Warrior, known as Klaxon, will be in the background today. So I presume Klaxon will be off doing a little side mission while you guys are doing your own thing, and when Klaxon comes back, we'll roll to see what that is.
I also need to roll for Child of Tomorrow when you're ready.
Roll it now, please. Okay. Now that we have done our intro, and everyone here, get yourself an extra mode of legacy so that you have a reroll.
Yay!
Okay.
Okay, so 17 4 times.
17 4 times is really good. I love that. Okay. That's a solid roll. You might need it today. All right.
Oh, thanks.
Look, it's a tabletop role-playing game. Pardon me for needing to challenge you.
No.
So,
That's what the negotiators for over there.
Yeah.
No. All of you fuckers are gonna get challenged, and probably at least once every couple of weeks be threatened with life or death. So that is, you all signed up for this. That's your fault, not mine.
Oh my god.
Because Becky. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Is it something specific to before the session? Or?
Yes, like general rolling. Do we need to roll between sessions? Because I know Becky's going to be training with.
No, I would do that live.
Okay.
I want my folks out here to actually see the results of anything.
Okay.
And you have not had enough time to do much in that respect, so don't worry about it. I will prompt you for those rolls.
Okay.
So, we're going to start ourselves with the starship that everyone is now slowly getting more and more accustomed to, at very least, which is, and we also, for the record, are on roll 20, for those of you who are curious. So, we are currently on the UVC Acheron, our player's starship. At the moment, we are between worlds. I'm going to just, again, take our buddy Klaxon here and sort of put him... We're going to throw him in the GM layer. He's off doing his own fun thing. So, you all are flying towards the world of Evanti Prime. This is the heart of the Evanti Sector, at very least the heart of the Evanti Parliament's chunk of the sector. You guys have a day and a half before you get there. I know that 2 of you have committed yourselves to doing some research, if I am not incorrect. So, what that's just at very least Becky and Zenith. What about Louis and Amaya? What are you 2 doing?
Where are we heading off to right now?
The Parliament, right?
Yeah, you guys were called to finally have that meeting with the Parliament, the final 3rd faction in the region that has been evading you for a couple of weeks, probably as a result of paperwork.
So, do we, just because this is just a question for the DM, do we have an actual meeting, or are we going over there to try to get a meeting?
You have a meeting. You were finally formally invited.
Okay.
Because we're special, we get to the front of the
Can...
Yeah, probably.
Okay, now, the reason why is because I was asking, because if we did not have an established meeting, I was just gonna have Kushitaka, like, hack into their systems and put us on their schedule for a meeting. So now that I don't have to do that, that's great. So I guess I would say I would probably just be doing research then. Just kind of what I did in terms of the JSA. So just trying to figure out, okay, who in the parliament, who are the main people, who is the person that we're going to be talking to, like what do I need to know about parliament, etc., etc. Like who's who.
Okay, baseline, the baseline stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the case then. Sounds like that's a research roll. And then,
yeah.
Louis, what are you up to?
We've got 3 days, you said, didn't we? It takes 3 days to get anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to say that we're, like, the first day was basically you guys getting kicked off and, like, actually heading to space.
Yeah.
So you have about 2 days total before you are at the door.
Oh, yes. No, I do remember what I was going to do. Right. I would like to go talk to our little AI superbot.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, that's entirely possible. That would be that'd be Delenray. If that is, or are you talking about Delenray, or are you talking about you're far more, you're far more, willing to work with you guys, symbiotic AI Calcifer?
No, the first one, the slightly hostile.
Gotcha.
person.
Okay, that'd be Delenray. All right then.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I add political affairs and public investigation to my role, or?
You absolutely can.
Perfect.
So you can do that, and so you'll be making that roll, Becky. I believe you were doing some mechanical research into like how the organic tech might work.
Yeah.
Okay, you can make your research roll, and then of course, Zenith, you make your research roll as well.
Exploded twice. Okay, I thought it was 3.
Oh my god, that was wild.
So all of you make your research rolls, write them down. We're gonna deal with Paul first.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my
Remind
god.
me how to do it.
Yeah, you all are blowing it up. So in this case, your rolling is going to be on the left-hand side of the screen. There's going to be a little bar with a little die, and you can click on that. And if you want, you can go to Advanced Roller, because that helps. You're going to want to hit Exploding Dice, which is the little exclamation point in the top right, and then select however many dice you want to roll. So in this case, it would be your Attribute roll and a Luck die, which in your case is always a D6. And you choose whichever one is higher, basically.
Engineering doesn't count.
Okay.
Because this isn't...
Engineering absolutely counts. Well, for you, it's what you're doing. It is your skill set in this case. So yes, you would choose your attribute. You would choose what skill you're using. In this case, your disciplines. So I believe for you, it would be research again.
I've been looking for research. Yes.
Yep. You
Can
would.
I add my academics to that?
Yes, you absolutely can. And
If I'm looking at the weirdness of it, of like the actual hand itself, because I feel like Xena's looking more at the hand rather than the actual gauntlet. Could I throw botany at it as well?
yeah, I think that actually works in this instance.
Yeah, 'cause
Considering
it's
it has
like
plant-like
budding.
traits. Yeah. So, yeah, make your roll. You choose whether it's your attribute die or your luck die you want to use as the die roll after you've rolled them.
Yeah.
And if it explodes, which is the highest number, keep adding it up until it's done, basically. And then just add whatever your modifiers are. And that is your committed number. So write your numbers down when you're done. Because I will forget them by the time we come back around to you. So, Louis, you're hunting Delenray down. The good news is, Delenray is not exactly hard to find. It's basically a weird sand, like, crystalline glass creature. It's not exactly, like, hard to spot.
Oh, he's still not in sleep mode?
Oh, he's walking around at this
Okay.
point. Now that you guys have handled everything, and it's been a day later.
Okay, so he just assumes...
Time changes.
I'm
yeah.
intrigued to see what happens when Zenith's going to come across him, but yep.
That's fair. So yes, in this case, Delenray, you would probably find Delenray, I figured, somewhere near the bridge, sort of like walking around, quietly observing. The crew has sort of gotten used to this strange silicon entity just doing its own thing. They're kind of beyond trying to stop it at this point. And it so far hasn't been destructive. So Dylan Ray's kind of just doing their thing in there.
Dylan Ray? Hi.
There's a soft crunching sound as the strange glass latticework shifts and it turns its head towards you, and the bright, ultraviolet eyes sort of fix on you. Yes, Louis, is it? What can I do for you?
And he looks around. Is it like a crowded corridor? Is it relatively private?
No, you are. Well, it's sort of like towards the back of the bridge. Right next to you, there are two doors. There's the door you came through, which leads to like the main arterial corridor, which isn't very busy this close to the bridge. It's only busy during like shift change. You're nowhere near that. Or the briefing room, the captain's ready room, basically, which is like right off of the main chamber. You have access to that as well. That is always quiet, unless Chiara's in there reading a book.
Can we go? And then is it really loud, or how loudly does this person read a book?
I mean...
You said it's really quiet unless there's someone in there reading a book. Like, are they yelling the words?
No, I'm saying it would be quiet inside the... It'd be not quiet, it'd be empty inside of that room,
okay.
unless Chiara's there.
Can we be... Can I have a word? Just one?
I suppose I have nothing better to do, sure. And so, slowly traipses after you. And again, Dylan Ray doesn't really walk. Its feet are really so abstract that they don't really even have feet. It just kind of ends in sharpened points, gliding on an electromagnetic cushion above the ground, static electricity arcing off of it. And every time it sort of touches one of its sharpened glass toes to the ground, you hear like a little tink, tink, as it literally goes all the way through the soft texture of the ground, like the padding, and touching the actual like walkway beneath. It walks into the room quietly and turns to face you. It's standing at like around 7.5 feet tall in its current configuration, just like really stretched out. It literally, the image, that is the image, is just this very long, narrow, glass latticework entity, vaguely humanoid.
So I was just wondering, like, I don't. You know a lot of stuff, right?
I have approximate knowledge of many things, yes.
Like, and you would, in some form or another, been around for, let's say, at least a year, maybe longer.
In this timeline, yes. At least at this point. I have existed concurrently for approximately... And, like, it sort of leans back, and there's, like, a shuddering sound as literally all the glass pixels that make him up sort of move in rhythm as he processes. Roughly 4,582 years terrestrial.
Okay, so slightly more than a year. Right, so... And you've been learning over time with what you've witnessed, what you've been... let's say told, like you develop more knowledge as time goes on, right? So
I do accrue experience, yes. I am a sapient entity, if that's what we're getting at.
Yeah, and you must have seen lots in the 4,005, whatever you said, years. Like you would have seen empires rise, fall, people fall in love.
Get at it, Louis. I can tell you're dancing around.
What do you know about romance, and how do I tell a girl I like her?
Unfortunately, I wasn't built for that. In case my charming demeanor wasn't a key, obviously.
Well, I just saw 4,500 years. You might have learned something. Like, something relevant, not learned something. I'm sure you know, like, math and, like, stuff. But
what I've learned over 4,000 years, of which I spent roughly 3,900 of them with Anazali, which, if I can be completely candid with you about my makers, the Anazali are incredible masters at many things, including social skills and science, and are truly a wondrous species. However, they all need therapy. The entire species needs therapy, and they are all so obtuse that it's very difficult to get anything done in a time frame. Turns out, when you have no expiration date, you don't mind taking 3,000 years to finally get around to starting a relationship. They flirt forever, and it's annoying because I have to witness it for thousands of years at a time while they do their little dance. If I can be honest, learn from my makers, and just tell someone something.
Okay, in those many years of flirting, did you write down, like, any notes? Or pickup lines? I don't know. Anything? My next guy is Kushataka, so, like...
I believe Kushataka will be a better person to answer that question, because if it makes you feel any better about my lack of expertise in this field, it's not that I couldn't learn. It's that I hate it. I truly, deeply loathe watching these interpersonal relationships play out over time. It is so wildly inefficient, and it just makes my glass grind. And as he says that, like, there's a sound as, like, almost like someone cut him in half for a while. Like, he literally slides a little bit and then shinks back into place. Just do what you're going to do. That's...
No, not me. It's a friend of mine. I really like someone else, and like I was just asking for them. They had a dream, I have
seen this roughly 832 times,
and yet you didn't take notes. Very disappointed.
I have had this conversation roughly 621 times. I don't... To be discreet, Louis, I don't care about your friend. Let me make that very clear. I don't care about your friend.
Yeah,
and it's very clear that your friend is imaginary. So, I will not tell whoever it is, though I have an idea. And that is not my concern, because I'm not going to lie. The thought of processing the relationship dynamics that you meaty, fragile things possess is just so arrogant and annoying and aggravating, and if the galaxy was just glass and thought, it would be so much easier, but I have to work with all of you. So, just do your thing. Either you get yes, or you get no. And then you can move on with your short, beautiful life.
Yeah, I don't really like those odds. That's only two options. I'm going to ask Kushataka. The great chat, I think none of us have learned anything here. I really didn't enjoy this. Thank you. I'll let my friend know about his dream.
If you need any tactical expertise, or any mathematical expertise, or anything of value, please feel free to ask me. I'm happy to assist. You'll do fine, Louis. And if it makes you feel any better, as he begins to, like, slowly turn, and when I say slowly turn, like, his body sort of realigns itself to be facing the other way in segments, with his head still facing you as he begins to walk out the door. Whatever happens, it won't kill you. At least, not the actual thing. Your reaction might, but it's very unlikely. That's only happened 5 times. And he walks out the door with this, like, scintillating sound behind him.
Yeah, what happened to the 5 times? Dude, you have notes there?
And we're gonna call scene right there. That's great.
I gotta say, that's a far cry from his initial, like, the Anazali are superior in every way. I appreciate this change.
So, at this point, we're going to check in with some research fast. So, I'm going to start going from the first set of research that was started, which was going to be Zenith and Becky. What are your respective roles?
Oh, wait.
Great question.
Answer.
So, on the dice, I rolled a whole 4.
Yep. Did you roll your luck die, which is the d6?
Oh, I didn't actually. I only rolled the thingy one.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yep. Just roll a d6.
U to d6, go somehow.
That's
yep.
another 4.
I managed to roll a 4 on that. 4s all around. 4 for everybody. You have a
Yep.
4, I have a 4, everyone has 4s.
Okay.
Excellent. And now I've got to add things to it.
Correct. So the way that this works,
Oh, I have-
because, again, I know you're new, so,
Yeah.
if you'll notice, your disciplines and your proficiencies are all just modifiers, right?
Yep.
Just add whichever ones you were using. So you chose one discipline, which is research.
Beautiful.
So that is, I believe, +4, correct?
4.
Yep.
Plus 4 for my research. And I threw on my academics and my botany, so that's a little one each. So
Yep.
6 in my modifiers. So
Correct.
6 onto my 4, 10.
Okay, that's perfect. You did it. You did it great. So, okay, so that's a 10. Sunshine, you be so close to turn that off?
Yeah.
Thank you. You're sweet, thank you. And what was your roll on the
23.
23. Okay. So, I'm going to now ask you exactly what it was you were both researching. So, we're going to start with you, Zenith. Zenith, what was it precisely about the hand you were researching, or was it more of a general look?
Somewhere between the two, it was looking very much at the weirdness of the organic structure of it, of the cellular structure, and trying to work out what's going on there, what has been done to this hand to make it this bizarre silicon type situation.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then let's see. Let's start with you, and then Becky. What was it that you wanted to learn about? Specifically, the machinery of the organic component.
Yes, especially the power source, materials, and how the configuration actually functions. Because then, like, you have to power the parts. Like, even if you're for movement.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I think I got you. So you're primarily focusing on the power source.
Yes, especially because it can turn into a knife.
Okay, cool. So, we'll start with using it. A 10 is actually pretty good. In this system, my usual baseline is success sits between 6 and a 10. Like, more or less. After you factor in that your average roll will be a 3 or a 4, and then most people have a modifier +1 or +2, 6 is the starting point of success. 10 is pretty solid. What you learn about it in terms of what caused this, like, and the way that it sort of worked out. You didn't really learn more than you already have, because you rolled really well just at your first glance. But what you can confirm now is that this was in fact the result of gene therapy. This absolutely was not a surgical procedure. This was not someone cloned this or grew this in a vat. A living human was subjected, and from the way that this looks, a living human was subjected to this willingly, because there's no signs of resistance, there's no, like, straps or marks on them that would indicate, or scarring that would indicate aggressive interventions. This was very clearly someone willingly submitted themselves to this process over what would have been years. This is not like you do it in an hour. This would be, at very least, you're looking at 6 months to possibly 2 years, and I always use terrestrial because, let's be real, chat, we're all human, so I'm not using normal periods of worlds you don't know. So, as a result, this was a slow, steady process, likely voluntary, especially since it's so far along. That even precludes the idea that, like, someone could be tricked into this. Like, there's a point where your hands start turning slate gray, and you start growing raised electrical impulse-like organs on them. Yeah, very clearly something's wrong with your food. Like, you would try to address it. No one has addressed this. So, this is a willful modification on a cellular level. It is extensive, and you are confident that this is not the only, like, modifications that this person has undergone. With a structural change like this, where you have cells going from squishy little, like, mammal, like, animal cells to hard cell wall structures, that means that their whole biology has changed. Even looking at things like the vein and artery structure, they look a lot more robust, likely because they're pushing something that's probably denser than normal blood. So, yeah, like, the whole, you actually don't really know what the person would look like. At least not yet. You have the technology to simulate, to break down the genetic structure and have the computer on board the ship attempt to simulate what a person with these genetic traits would look like. Because you do have genetic samples from this person. You have their whole fucking hand. So you could theoretically run a rendering of it, and it would simulate the life form. I'm gonna do that. It will take more days than you have. It will be like a process of at least 3 days.
We can start it going and just,
Basically, this thing has to grow that figure from utero and then manually age them up. So you're basically simulating a person's entire life.
Fast forward.
Yeah, pretty much. So, all right. So you're starting that process.
Does it have like a Netflix button where you can like skip the intro and like?
Nah, this is you already like leaning on warp speed. Like you don't even know. I will also say this: you can at least tell the age of this person based on just immediate visual like traits of this hand, even after all the modifications. Very clearly from the condition of the hand, the shape, the dirt, like the texture of like the flesh, that kind of thing. This person's in their 20s. Whoever this person was, they were like in their mid to late 20s at most. So still fairly young for a human.
Okay, so fetus, excellent. As far as she's over 2000. As far as she's concerned, 20s, yeah, you're a fetus.
Yeah.
Like
you're a twinkle in your parents' eye.
Hell,
You're not even triple.
I'm in my 30s, and I think that makes you a fetus at this point.
I mean,
like,
I kind of finished growing at age 30. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. And I'm still figuring myself out. Becky, going on to you. Your role was spectacular. So, in terms of its power source, this is where things are entertaining. This suit, from what you can see, has no internal power source at all. Instead, it conducts electricity along inductive wires on the interior of the suit to its subsystems. Which means the pilot is the electrical source. They are the power source for this suit. So this thing doesn't have a reactor. You are the reactor if you're wearing it.
Gross.
Which probably explains a little bit of the augmentations that this person might have gotten. Furthermore, in terms of how the mechanics of the knife hand thing work, given your crazy high roll, you can see that it literally is designed to rewind the material into this shape. It's basically a very advanced form of memory metal. It undoes, it's basically a two-phase state memory metal structure. So it has, on one hand, a traditional hand. On the other hand, it actually reformed itself into that knife state. Literally when it's conducted with the right electrical impulse and the right frequency.
Would I be able to tell if the inside would also shift, like, to accommodate an actual hand still?
From what you can see, yes, to a degree. It appears as though that the hand itself has to metamorphosize in some way. Likely as a result of some augmentation it has. You're not still sure exactly how it works. But clearly, like, the fingers and the phalanges and the metacarpals all would, like, stretch and change their alignment in a way that if you were a normal person would hurt a lot. So, however, you're talking about a person whose biology has been bootstrapped into turning them into an electrical socket, and that's the things you do know about it. So it's already at a baseline weird. Very, very icky.
And there wasn't like an artist's like name on the side, right? Like,
no, there was
indicator?
not.
Yeah.
There's this, whatever this was, is bespoke technology. Given your knowledge of tech, now I will say this: you do have some historical knowledge of tech, a little bit of it. There was a point in human history where some humans utilized biotechnology in a similar way, but not on this scale. You're aware of these types of constructs, mecha, basically, that were known for a while as titans. So, avatars are what you guys are more familiar with, avatars and your standard walkers and that kind of thing, which are all mechanical constructs. But titans were designed, at least for a while anyway, they existed as like an experimental thing, on backwater worlds, where this one scientist realized that the average, like, tiny settlement can't maintain a super advanced technical piece of machinery with, like, basic technology. What they can do, however, is grow something. And as long as it can heal itself, and it can maintain itself by eating, they can use that. And most of those worlds had in abundance primitive plant matter. So as soon as a planet could develop algae, it could theoretically support one of these titans. They existed for a brief period of time. Roughly the same scale as an avatar, similar technological level, but
like a whale, though.
kind of, yeah. Where an avatar was made entirely with machinery, titans were grown and literally aged at incredible speed, and then reinforced usually with, like, mechanical components. So the pilot would literally slot into it, just like an avatar, usually as a result of a plug put into the back of the neck, or into, like, roughly where the collar would go, slide into their heart, and literally from there become the core of this thing's nervous system. So if you've ever seen Evangelion, it's basically an Evangelion, but nowhere near the same size, and not quite as religiously toned. So, basically the gist. The technology, however, fell out of favor pretty quickly. For starters, it got co-opted by a terrorist group during the, and that was, like, way back in the day. This is, like, 200 years ago, during humanity's faction wars that this occurred. So, this was back when all of humanity was still fighting itself and didn't really know about extraterrestrials yet. So, that's when this tech was last seen. You've heard about it in passing, and every once in a while someone goes back to the technology and goes, hey, this still has useful applications, and tries to use it. This is, you'd have to assume, the same kind of tech. Like, it's very clearly bioengineered. Like, it's got mechanical components to it in the sense that it's been clearly strapped together, but these aren't like just normal carbon fiber tubes. These are manufactured likely by a cell structure. The whole thing is alive in a weird kind of sense. So that's probably what it is. But just, again, to put it in perspective, the only application you ever heard of this was Titans. And Titans were like 20 feet tall. At least. Like 25 to 30 feet tall on average. This is the size of a human hand. Whole other ballgame.
They're making babies.
So that's your base of knowledge off of this. So this is what you have.
I will add, Zenith will share the research. Be like, I've discovered this. I've looked at the hand. These are happening, kind of thing. Like, the knowledge will be shared.
Yeah, Becky would also share. Just like we have a notepad, just like doop.
Yeah.
It's time for peer review. It's like 5 hours in. We're just like, all right.
Like, okay, where are you up to with all
Analysis.
this gestures? Okay, here's my notes.
I'm not sharing what Dallin Ray told me. I'm just saying.
That research is mine.
Just
Yeah,
accidentally in the
that's
chat.
personal research.
Well, I was going to ask, at what point do we think Dylan Ray is going to stumble across / vice versa? Zenith's going to stumble across Dylan Ray.
I figure at some point, you're just going to bump into each other on the ship unless you actively go looking for them. So.
Well, she doesn't know to go looking for it, so she's going to be just, wandering over to Becky's place to be like, right, more research,
Right,
back and forth
there's
time.
just an AI in my room because that's what it is.
Yeah, that actually is probably, if you went to her room, that is where Dylan Ray's core is. So, you would stumble across him there. Them there, technically.
Yes.
They don't have a gender.
So yeah, Zenith would come in, notebook in hand, and just sort of like, what? Why do you, what?
This,
Don't give me that human innocent face. What is this doing in here?
the interior of her room is about 2/3 of it given over to this large structure, which is basically a supercomputer. Very clearly, some kind of containment system supercomputer.
It's a Faraday cage, yeah.
It's pretty much a Faraday cage, yeah, designed to both optimize and continue to maintain what in the middle is a very small silicate stone, a sphere roughly about 2 inches across, small to fit in your hand. And it hovers there, and from the center of it is this bright purple light, which make me, on your part, This would not be a research roll. This would be a general intellect roll. I'm going to give you a flat +5 to this because you're Anazali.
Awesome. So intellect roll, it's still the D12
Correct.
roll, right?
D12 and a D6 luck die, whichever one's higher.
Roll the thingies.
You're gonna
I just accidentally rolled everything.
you
I have
keep
no idea
rolling
what I'm
fours, so it's a
I'm just rolling 4s, so this is great.
I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah.
That's a little bit weird.
But I mean, Becky would actually just be like, Dylan Ray, meet Zenith. Zenith, Dylan Ray.
So
Yes, hands.
slowly, the silicate stone would like begin to grow and literally sort of continue to expand, and stones out of stones, it would slowly become pixelated and grow in scale until eventually, as it sort of hovers down from its plinth to the ground, becomes this like 7.5 foot tall, stretched out glass entity. You recognize that immediately as an Anazali AI construct. The exact term for it would be a curator. And curators are used for specific purposes. They are basically incredibly brilliant, fully self-aware, and doggedly focused on their task. They are literally programmed to find their task to be the only thing worth doing. And everything else in existence is usually not worth it.
Challenge accepted. We'll get some self-worth in there.
But yeah, so that is like the baseline. And you are not aware of... There's like maybe a total of like 20 curators left in the galaxy, as far as you're aware. Maybe 30, if you factor in like some Anazali might be trying to make modern ones, but they're very hard to manufacture. They're like an order of magnitude more difficult to make than even the smartest of traditional AI. Even synthetics, the self-aware sapient race of androids around the galaxy, pale in comparison to the level of complexity of what stands in front of you. This is a brain basically the size of a planet, more or less.
Oh yeah, because of the subspace.
Yeah. That's not even considering the fact that it's also tied to the Stoner Forge. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different ballgame.
At the moment, she's just trying to take in that this is a being that is here, and aside from just here, but also in here. Like,
Just
why is this based in
my room.
here?
Sorry.
Yeah, like, it's weird enough that you've got one, let alone why is it in here?
You know, we needed to find space. We found space. I didn't like big room. You know, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Efficient.
You can see that Dylan Ray is currently studying you, Zenith, like very intensely.
I bet.
At its heart is this very bright violet star
Don't worry, he did
that seems
that
to
to me
pulse, and its eyes are flickering the same way because it has like these 2 sparks of light that basically pass for eye spots, and they are rapidly scintillating from red to green, like in high serried pulses, almost like an electrical arc, as it processes for a moment. I don't have access to my full records, but I do acknowledge that your gene song indicates that you are a citizen of the Anazali Imperial. Former. Am I correct in that assumption?
Very much former, yes, that is correct.
Interesting. Slowly turns over to look at you, Becky, and then scans you again. And scans you again, Zenith. Just sort of flips back and forth a couple of times. Interestingly, your gene plans indicate equivalent rank, so I can't default to either of you.
We do both have authorization from Orenvale and Selfinor, so that stands to reason, right?
Oren can only command me directly. Unfortunately, I have to defer to whatever gene plan is programmed into you. But either way, both of you two do rank equivalently. Please don't give me contradicting orders. It would be very difficult.
Never.
Thank you.
Please do that.
Just the accidental.
That would be an inefficient use of time. No, we will not be doing that.
What can I do for you?
Oh, we were sharing notes.
Oh. Well then. I'll leave you to it then. It's good to see you. And it slowly nods its head towards you in deference, Edith.
And she just kind of returns the nod of like, okay, I'm going to respect the fact that you're a vastly, terrifyingly intellectual thing, yes.
There's this little sound as it begins to compact back down into the little sphere and then hovers back over the superconducting like plinth that it has. That you
Still learning to socialize.
Oh.
There's a soft pulse
Why?
from both your wrist links, and as the text appears, I know how to socialize. I simply don't enjoy it. Dellen Ray,
Why
discontinuing line. And
I
then
think
just,
he misses, the old folks.
They wouldn't have socialized him either.
Becky gives this look like very confused, like you're part of a society.
Why would you why? But why? That's not what their function was for.
Because they're people?
But socializing still wasn't their function.
But it would help
I'm not a
them
socialite, I'm a
interface
researcher.
Okay, but it helps them interface with others. That's kind of like asking why do people interact with each other?
I mean, I ask myself that on a daily basis, but
So he was right about the therapy part. Just kidding. So that's above table. Above table.
I was gonna say you weren't in the room for that.
That was out of character.
over table.
To a conversation, Becky.
Just accidentally.
Like over the table. Yes, they really do. Yeah.
Back in. I need like a stop sign, which is like OC out of character, and then green sign like I'm back in. Like, I am so sorry.
Why?
That's really sad. That you don't see the value in others.
We see value in others. We just don't see their value as how they can meat flap at each other.
You don't like small talk, is what you mean.
Absolutely not.
That I can agree with on you there. So, notes.
Yeah.
Awkward exchange, like, yeah. We'll reconvene in an hour. Yeah.
Alright, so as you two settle down and begin to do your work, we're going to turn our attention from that awkward intersection to slightly down the hall. And slightly down the hall, we have Amaya. Alright, what did you roll?
So I rolled a 17.
A 17.
Mm-hmm.
Very solid. Very solid indeed. Alright. So, what we can tell you about is what I've got, which at the moment, it's something, alright. So, where's this? Oh, here we go. It closed every window that was relevant to me.
Oh.
as you do, when you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to have access to this, and it's like, oh, what if you didn't? Thanks. I appreciate that. Alright, so the person you're meeting today is a particularly important member of the Evanti Parliament. And by important member, I mean the most important member. The Prime Minister, Sarah Ferrano. So, Sarah is C-E-R-A. Ferrano is F-E-R-A-N-O. She's the human Prime Minister of what is the Evanti Parliament, which is, again, ostensibly the sector-wide government, or what they wish was the sector-wide government, if they could convince enough people in the sector to actually honor that. In particular, she's also the leader of a political group, a political party, known as the Accordist Movement. So they are basically as important as you're going to get. She's roughly about 50-something years old. I think she's 56 is how old she is right now. And she's actually been reelected about 4 times straight. So, in fairness, this is because elections are called whenever the government collapses, and the government has collapsed roughly about, 4 times since she first got elected. In no small part because the Accordists are very lockstep together, but outside of the Accordists, the other movements shift very quickly. So while there is a governing coalition, if just a few too many people like fall off and get replaced from the Accordists movement, that becomes way more unstable. And in the past couple years, it has once again become stable, but this is coming off of a big like stir of frustration and a big change, a big seat change. They lost like almost a third of their seats for a while, and they had to build a lot of coalitions that did not last very long. So what I can tell you about Sarah is the fact that she is very good at making peace with people who don't want to make peace. She's very good at getting across lines, and making deals with people who are just not normally willing to make deals with each other.
Just lock them in the room together.
Not as extreme as that, but honestly, in certain cases, she's known for cutting through that kind of bullshit pretty quickly. Now, that said also, given your research, what you will know is the fact that she is every bit, from what people can tell, she has no, like, second life, in a sense. Her job is her perspective. What she says on the stand, she really does believe. And she doesn't do that sort of backroom, one perspective, two perspectives, depending on who's talking to her. She really does say what she means. And it's probably the reason why she stayed in office as long as she has. She's a known quantity, and everyone basically around her wants that. Now, in addition to being principled, she's also known as being relatively unwavering in what the Accordist movement stands for, which is unifying the sector. The whole sector. Everyone has to fall under the Evanti. This sort of leads back to this principle that they continue to bring up every once in a while, which is known as the Betz and Hiss equation. It's a regional thing. Basically, a formula, as far as you can tell, for determining the threat of mass death events in a region, based on political and socioeconomic trends, historical data, statistical analysis. Long and short, it's a formula for determining the likelihood of chaos erupting in a governmental body. And there's many other reasons why the Accordists want the entire sector to be under one government, but the Betz and Hiss equation is the thing that they roll out. It's their Reaganomics. It's the thing that they will reference every day, forever, even beyond its original purpose. Because the Betz and Hiss equation, when it was first written, basically gave a near 100% likelihood of a mass death event within 100 years. It has been 75 years since the Betz and Hiss was written. And every time they continue to run the proof again, it gets more certain, closer to now. And so they are increasingly concerned that this basically is factoring in some kind of mass war that's building up. And while individual trends might not be reliable, so far Betz and Hiss has not been wrong. Every time it's pointed to a major disaster, political encroaching, it has happened. And whether or not that is self-fulfilling prophecy, or whether or not it is just a simple matter of it's a really accurate bellwether, big shrug. But you know how that kind of thing goes, right? There are some who literally treat that as, like, almost magic. There are some Anazali who believe that the Betz and Hiss equation might be the first steps of instrumentalism, which is, for the Anazali, their ability to literally read the quantum foam to determine the future, which is not very reliable. But they're like, this might be a homegrown way of developing this. Like, this might be you guys stumbling into what we developed. But like baby steps, you know? So, that is one of the things that the Accordist movement pointed to, and one of the many reasons why they're like, yeah, this is why we're doing this. We're not waiting for everyone to agree. We will extend the rights of citizenship of the Evanti Parliament to everyone in the sector. And that is the official stance of their parliament, of their political body, is that if you exist within the Evanti sector's borders, which are everything within the region, you have the rights to you are effectively a citizen. You are given the rights of a citizen, you are also given the dues of a citizen. So you theoretically have universal health care, you have the right to judge, jury, you have the right to the basics, no matter where you are in the sector. However, that depends on whether you paid your taxes effectively. So that's where most of the struggle comes from. No one's going to complain about someone showing up to help. Someone will complain when they get given a bill immediately afterward for help that they didn't ask for.
True.
So, that's what the Accordist movement is. For the record,
Gotcha.
they're called the Accordists because they wrote the Evanti Accords, Gesundheit, which is, in fact, the constitutional document that binds the entire Evanti Parliament together. That is effectively their Magna Carta. So, there you go. You're meeting with Sarah Ferrano today. She has set aside a day to meet with you guys, or at least a part of a day. You have a very specific part of a day to meet with her.
Oh my gosh.
But at the same time, as far as she's concerned, as technically Prime Minister. Prime Minister is her proper title. They also use the word Chancellor as well.
Chancellor.
But yes, Prime Minister is the proper term.
Okay.
She has set aside a period of time to speak with you guys because as far as her government is concerned, you answer to them.
Ah!
You remember, you guys are Voyagers. Your task is to preserve a region once it's assigned to you and ensure no ruin worlds, no catastrophes occur in that region based on lost technology or things that pop up, right?
Right.
They're the official government of the sector as far as they're concerned, which means they believe you take their contracts. They're not dumb,
Right.
but that's their official line. They are meeting the official Voyagers that are going to be working with them.
Okay.
And that is everything that you've heard so far about this meeting. There has been some discussion about its scuttlebutt in like political news, in like some political news ops and stuff around the area. It's like a couple of like news blasts. They're like, today Prime Minister Sarah is meeting with with new Voyagers for the Evanti Sector. Yada yada yada. I wonder what they'll talk about. We wish we could be in the room to hear that. But that's basically what's going to be happening today. We'll be meeting at the Capitol building they have, which is called the Wheel. It is their large Parliament building. That is everything I can give you based on your role.
Thank you.
No problem. Did you have any other questions you wanted me to address? Because your role was significant enough where I feel like one question is warranted at least.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, Amaya's main function is that, she likes to learn about people and who she's going to be basically going up with. That kind of determines how she approaches it. So I think Amaya would be relieved that she's dealing with somebody who is pretty straightforward. So
Fair.
that's good in terms of preparation. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, that's fair. I figure I should at least give you one thing to lean on, which is, again, Sarah Ferrano is the kind of person that speaks the party line and means it. The party line is, the Evanti Parliament is the government of the Evanti Sector. So if you want to get somewhere with her, best not to argue that point too hard. That is the biggest lever I can give you, is that if you're going to go against the party line, she is pretty much obligated to tell you to fuck off. So just be aware of that. She's not stupid. She's not going to make an enemy of you, but that is a great way to get adversarial with her. Do with that as you will. All right. So, a couple of days pass. And we've been going for a while, so I'm going to ask, does anyone need to go to the bathroom? Because it has been a hot minute. All right, cool. So, here's what we're going to do, everybody. For those of you guys who don't know, we do take little bathroom breaks. I'm going to give everyone, I'll say, like 3-5 minutes. As soon as everyone's back and we have ourselves our concordance again, we have our quorum, we will re-begin, and we'll kick off the second half of the stream. Okay. We're going to go to break, and remember, your mics are loud, and they are live the whole time, because that is how we do things here. We'll be right
Not if I
back.
mute them.
If you mute, sure, fine, coward. All right, we're officially on the We'll Be Back, and again, mics are hot, folks. You have 3 to 5.
Oh yeah, it is. It's so hot. Oh.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You right now.
Get liquid. Good.
Basically, Omni-Man before he was properly like, oh, okay, I can experience some joy.
It is funny that I've been making the Anazali and this like setting for a while now, like many years, and every once in a while, like parallel evolution will occur, and it just happens that even though I've written the Anazali, at least the Anazali Imperial of old, where Delon Ray is from, like era-wise, to be like really xenophobic, like really xenophobic.
I like the.
It just like
I don't like this. The questionable.
Well, yeah, like that same kind of like culturally repressed xenophobic thing, and also like conquerors. It's a very common sci-fi trope. I'm not going to pretend I invented that, but it's just very funny to see it happen
It's very
again
funny to imagine.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest difference between him and Omni-Man is that Omni-Man is broken, and Delon Ray is just a glass sculpture with a mind the size of a planet. I'd say it's more like if Brainiac was Omni-Man, culturally,
You know,
if we were going to do that.
He would still ask so many questions.
Oh, yeah.
Even
No.
if he doesn't answer them, just for later for the candidate. You good? Are you still muted?
Yes, everyone is still muted. Except for us,
I asked you
because...
said hello.
Yeah, because our mics are live.
I want to make sure you're okay, because you look like you were breathing really hard.
What? I can't very well.
Let me get closer. That any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like the sweet spot. It's really weird. But
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure you were okay.
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. I'll get a bit out of breath because, well,
Yeah, I know. I'm repeating. I'm sorry.
didn't mean to press that button. It's fine. I'll be okay in a minute.
I'm going to turn the gain up on this and see if that helps a little bit. Hopefully this helps. Da-da-da!
Well, I think
There we are.
it was coupled with the music in the Roll20. It was kind of suddenly getting very
Loud.
crescendo and very like okay.
Yeah. And
I
yes,
got
everybody was muted. Everybody past tense was muted. We still have two members who were like, who are muted at the moment. So JJ and Paul are still not back, so we are waiting. I see Paul's back. Welcome back, Paul.
Well,
We wait the last member of our core.
Hello.
Hello! There we go. Hey, AZ, good to see you, buddy. Also, pleasure to have you on board. Everyone wave hi to AZ, my long-term and incredible mod from Twitch, and also a long-standing old friend of mine. Much love, homie. All right. Well, we're all back. Is everyone ready? Everyone had their sips? Has everyone hydrated themselves? We don't have the hydration button to remind ourselves.
I had gained more caffeine.
Excellent. Excellent. That is always good. Okay, well, if that's the case, then we're going to be right back to Legacy First Flight as it sort of punts us over in this weird direction. There we go. Ah! Got it. Nailed it. Also, everyone, don't forget to stretch very fast. Unpretzel your backs. Ah!
Oh, so crunchy.
Yeah, and I feel that. Trying to keep myself from developing a hitch in my shoulder. I fell on the ice on Valentine's Day. And, it's fine now, but like it's one of those like I can still feel a little pop where I'm pretty sure I sprained my tendon. So I'll be all right. We good. Okay.
What about you? You gonna do a big stretch? No, you do it. No, dog's already done that big stretch. You missed it.
Aw, babies. Alrighty. Well, with that, I think we get back to it. So, we are going to slightly advance ourselves, like, over the course of the next day. I'm gonna slightly, like, push forward a little bit. We can go back to, like, do some stuff in the past tense, but I'm gonna presume this took most of the next 2 days. So, starting off, the world that you're all heading to is actually very peaceful. You've been now to 3 worlds in this starship, and normally you actually need to land on like on a platform of some kind or something, but in this instance, you actually can take your whole ship down there, which is not very common. Usually you need a lander, but in this instance, no, you don't. So, as your ship, the Acheron, enters upper atmosphere, it actually hits what's known as a skyhook, which is basically this rotating suborbital structure designed to sort of slingshot things and out of orbit and sort of slow them down when entering a planet's atmosphere. Your ship connects to it as this giant structure is spinning at a surprisingly fast speed, and at near orbital velocity, it catches you, spins you, and then slows down, and with all your momentum bled out, just slowly lets the ship go. And you manage to descend downward until eventually you enter a large, sprawling city. A metropolis.
Question though.
Yes.
So Louis and Kushitaka, you had your conversation after?
Yeah.
Kushitaka infinitely better.
We will get to that conversation in the past tense for sure. Because I want to have that conversation for sure. So, as the ship enters the atmosphere and slows down as its boosters no longer really needed to bleed off too much energy, it's really sort of to let itself hover down. Eventually, you find yourselves over these rolling brown plains and green hills and descends into this large metropolis, which is crazy dense. I don't know how many of your characters have lived in dense metropolis-like environments. Pretty sure that, like, Zenith, you have the fleet, which was pretty dense, but not like a sprawling metropolis. It was more like a really compact, like, New York borough, where, like, everyone is forced to live within close proximity of each other. Becky, you probably have lived in a very large cityscape in the past, so you're familiar with this. Louis, I don't know. Have you lived in a big city before?
You're muted.
You're muted.
I know I'm muted, I just didn't want you to hear me, okay? No, I lived on islands, I believe, so large open spaces.
That's true, you did. So yeah, you lived on, like, floating orbital cities. So, like, yeah, that's true. You really haven't. Like, you've lived in, like, it's busy, but not like this. Like, you lived in a moderately, like, sized urban environment. And then finally, Amaya, have you ever been in, like, a major core world city before?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to... I'm pretty sure, like, any of my studies related to my negotiator like, role or whatever, I'm pretty sure I probably was in a big city.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a fair assessment. So if that's the case, then for some of you, it's culture shock. For others, it's just another day. This place is a spiraling city, at very least, like, I want to say 50 miles wide. It just keeps going into suburbs, reaching into the far distance. And those suburbs themselves are smaller agrarian areas where people sort of live in, like, scattered cottages and
Are there people
blocks.
with pets going by?
From where you are, you can't really see, but you can see seas of thousands of people moving. You can't see individual people, but it's like a tide on the ground, on, like, the lower levels.
Sadness. Can't take pictures of cats or dogs.
Not at this height. Eventually, you guys land at what seems like a dry dock, an orbital dry dock built on a planet, which is a very expensive proposition. Basically, this thing has to create a zero gravity field so that the ships can sort of hover in that berth. And building one is easy. Maintaining it takes a lot of power. And there are about 80 other starships of your size or larger, all at this large tower reaching upward. It's huge and blocky. It's almost like a giant cardboard box, really, just sort of stretching upward with all these ships poking off of it, giving this appearance of almost like a Christmas tree. And as your ship is eventually berthed and locks, gravity normalizes, and you are now officially on the world of Evanti. So, Amaya, you have the invitation. You know exactly where you need to go. If you choose to go there first. Do you all want to go and do your little thing? Or do you guys have anything else you want to do before you arrive? You have, like, at least 2 hours to get across the city to make your meeting.
Little cafe, little sips.
I'm happy to go straight to the meeting. I don't think there's anything I'd like to do.
I'm actually going to the meeting. I do love the idea that over the course of that couple of days of little interactions between research, I feel like Becky's going to be like, right, so we have to socialise you as well. Okay.
Yes! Yeah!
Little project, it's fine.
Yes! Be like, do you want to go see the opera? Do you want some coffee?
Also, for the record, because I do want to make this very clear, because this is relevant for your interactions, Paul, because I know it is. You did have that meeting with Kushitaka. And when you did, Kushitaka was very honest with you. He's not had a lot of luck with relationships. There's a reason he does a job where he's running around the galaxy appraising planets for months at a time, and basically his job was being a bastard-coded bastard by career. But he did give you a couple pointers, which most of them were just, be confident. Be confident, walk tall, and, you know, say what you need. Be smooth about it. Like, the usual, like, friends who've heard relationship advice, like, through someone else, and like, yeah, that's how you do it. That's the advice you're getting right now. Just a heads
Oh my
up.
god.
Smooth. Tall.
Well,
Smooth and tall.
Of all people,
Like-
he
Like
had
a milkshake. Be like a milkshake. Right.
I'm gonna give that advice to someone if they're like, what does it take to get in a relationship? Be
A
like,
milkshake.
be as a milkshake, smooth and tall.
unless they're lactose intolerant, in which case really don't.
Yes.
yeah.
Just like a real milkshake, it'll attract some people and drive others very far away.
I mean, as someone who has a slight intolerance, we will still drink it and eat it.
Yeah. And suffer the consequences later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's an active choice. You go, well,
Right. But that does open it up. We have 2 hours to get there, so I'm very curious to see if Louis is gonna try to make a move.
So, yeah, whenever he's walking down, he's going to sort of try and do it almost on his tiptoes, and then realise, like,
They're all just like, are you okay? Is your back okay?
yeah, I'm fine. This is, yeah, I'm good. How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I was asking Zenith if she wanted to go to the cafe.
Yeah, Edith? Do you want to go to the cafe?
is this usual behaviour for him?
No, I think it's new.
Oh, okay.
Stupid
I'll avoid-
cafe.
I'll avoid commenting on it. He might be trying something. Cafe.
All right.
I suppose. Yes. Fine.
So, okay. For the record, your invitation did not necessitate all of you be at that meeting. That was extended to the Voyager team. But it didn't say the entire Voyager team. It just said Fire Team Forge Tender.
We should probably make an effort to have a unified front.
The Prime Minister,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I can at least tell you, the city is bustling. Where you guys arrive, it's roughly about, like, midday, a little bit before the heat of the day. So, the population of this place, last you checked, the planet has a population of 2,580,000, which is, for a world, a lot. In Legacy, most colony worlds are between, like, under 500 million to several 100 million, like, in that ballpark. Anything over that enters the realm of core worlds, which is where you're on now. This is a full-on core world, and it is metropolitan. It isn't as built up as you'd think. It's not Coruscant, right? 2 billion people is a lot. It's not that many people. It's enough where you can have larger city centers and stuff. Our planet, you know, we're way more than 2 billion now, but it's not like there's not places you can go that don't have trees still. So,
Thank God.
this world has handled its growth a little bit better, though. A lot of the walkways that you're on are raised. It is a little bit like that more traditional sci-fi style city. A very Eurocentric design in its aesthetic. So you're seeing a lot of smooth, sweeping white structures. There is a lot of steel and glass, involved in a lot of the construction here, which says that humans built a lot of this structure, or at very least human contractors, which probably means the JSA might have been contracted to do it. At least Chromium Industrial and the Alliance Initiative were likely brought over to build these. Alliance Industrial and Chromium Industrial both are human companies, so there you go. There is a public transit system, which a lot of you are familiar with at this point. It's the exact same system that Colony Worlds use, they just up-antied it into the sky. So, as opposed to just having, you know, a single garage for, like, a community of, like, 30, 40 people where they can basically request an automated vehicle fly over to them and then give them control and go where they need to go. Instead, there's hundreds of racks of these things on rotating gimbals on the sides of platforms where you can go and get personal walkers and personal, like, bikes and utilize those for free. Or, you know, at very least for a minimal fee. So it is, the place is absolutely packed. The ground is this soft, spongy foam-like material almost, in a lot of places wherever the walkways are, so not really concrete, more like playground rubber, if you're familiar with that. And there's green all over the place. Like, there's a lot of green spaces. Basically, every path has grass and trees growing off of it.
It's solar punk.
To a degree. Not fully solar punk, like urban solar punk. Like the way when you see building designers nowadays want to make something look futuristic, they slap a couple extra trees on it, and it's still like 99% glass and plastic. But there's shade. At least there's shade. Yeah. So they do still seem to care a little bit about that green space. Eventually, your path would take you past a number of cafes. There's thousands of shops and carts and cafes all over the place. Some selling coffee, some selling very interesting drinks from all across the galaxy, including but not limited to a Shrikesh one that actively, like, roils as you hold it, which they have an advisory: don't drink this unless you're human and adventurous, Shrike, or Iname, and don't mind regenerating for a while, as its ambient temperature starts at around 250 degrees. So, baseline, yeah. It's not like that's the sort of thing you can let cool, because if you do let it cool, it solidifies into a tar, and you have to eat it with a spoon.
That would appeal to some people, I know for a fact.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. The place is absolutely busy. But as you guys get closer, eventually you see where you're heading to, which is the Wheel. The Wheel is a rather massive structure in the center of the city. It's not uncommon for these sort of like capital buildings to be uniquely designed. Every sector, every region of the galaxy has these large central capital buildings. But the Wheel is unique in the fact that as opposed to trying to be taller than all the nearby buildings, it's actually just the widest building by a significant margin. It's at least 40 stories tall, so it's big. It looks very squat, but that's because it's by design. It actually has about 4 separate rows of like open space on it, because each of those spaces is actually private docks for local aircraft and for smaller transit vehicles. Because the whole purpose of the Wheel is that anyone can watch the proceedings of the Parliament. Anybody. But they're also not dumb enough to have every single, like, Parliament speaker and Parliament representative go through the exact same large doors. Ostensibly, everyone goes through the arches. If you notice, the arches hold the building up, so it's a very easy bar to clear. Most folks actually go through their private, like, garages above. And you can actually see smaller aircraft and every once in a while, like, hovercraft going through. And every once in a while, even walkers escorting particularly important VIPs going through them. But for you guys, the central path, which is lined with trees and grass and this massive, almost granite-colored, rubberized, like, texture on the ground, leading up to this huge doorway, which is at least 10 stories tall.
So we'll just grab the food on the way, the snacks.
Oh yeah, you easily could. There's so many places nearby that sell it. Everything from every cuisine you can imagine. This place is a true melting pot of civilization. As far as these people are concerned, like, you can basically get anything you want as long as you're willing to walk 5 feet to find it. So
Space food trucks. Love it.
pretty much. By the time you guys get here, you know, again, I'm going to say it takes you about 30 minutes to get through the city. Despite how big it is, public transit's pretty abundantly available. There's a lot of moving pathways that can sort of accelerate you without getting onto a bus across, like, skyways. And it's actually surprisingly well organized. Getting to the center of the city was really easy from that dock. Clearly by design. And eventually, when you get here to the wheel, you see what appears to be a small, like, group of security officers, all wearing, like, military fatigues and semi-powered armor, very common among humans. The same type that the actual human government would normally use. The Commonwealth of Human Nations. Same gear, just in this case, as opposed to, like, slate gray with, like, a soft blue and a white aesthetic. These are khaki brown with, like, a bright green sort of coating on it. And there's one particular person standing out in front of them that stands well above them. Most of them are human. A couple of them are, like, Oraname. There's one that's an Acris. But this human towers over all of them, standing at 8 feet tall and built. Weirdly built in a way that doesn't seem human. That will be this fellow here. And he's holding a simple cardboard sign that just says, Voyagers. And he's just casually standing there holding it up, watching people go by, tapping his foot.
I guess that's our cue.
That man is so tall.
Wow.
So, what do you guys do?
I think we'll go ahead and approach him and say, hi, I believe we are the Voyagers you're looking for. Or waiting for.
All right then.
You're like, are there others?
I believe it would.
You know that.
I believe it would just be you then. Well, welcome. My name is Gentry. I am contracted security for the Evanti Sector, specifically for the Evanti Parliament. And, well, you might be more familiar with my old call sign, Thunderhouse. I used to work with Asgard way back in the day. But, well, when Asgard went interstellar, I kind of decided I was just going to do my own thing for a while.
Would Becky recognize because of the role from previous?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. You are human. Thunderhouse is like... Talking about Thunderhouse would be like if someone just, like, casually name-dropped, like, oh, hi, yeah, my
I'm
name...
Tony Hawk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I'm Che Guerrera. Like, you know, it's like, oh, hi, how you doing? My name is Fidel Castro. Nice to meet you. Like, it's that level of, like, major influential character. And in this case, Thunderhouse was one of the hunters, a transhuman mercenary group of old that got turned into the modern-day hunter institution that hunts the Ataraxi Scourge. You know, that thing that obliterated the galaxy some 2,000 odd years ago. Yeah, they're basically the closest thing to modern-day exterminators for that the Union has. They're all modified, highly. So when I say transhuman, I mean, that's why he's big. Basically, he was taken apart and put back together again into a superhuman stature. And all hunters go through that state. Regardless of what species they are not human exclusive anymore. So, he's just a pretty average height for a hunter. At least as far as a human hunter goes. He probably weighs about 300 pounds. Like, at least. Just based on his size alone. And you're pretty confident most of his muscle groups are artificial.
So basically the Halo Spartan. Like, just levels of, like, oh my god.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, Thunderhouse is one of the major hunters of his era. He was an alpha rank hunter, which is, like, basically the very top tier levels of dangerous back then. Back when they were viewed as mercenaries, that's basically like saying I'm the top 10th percentile of these mercs. And he actually played several pivotal roles in major battles. So, he's only still alive because they actually don't know how long hunters live. Despite the fact that Gentry has this relatively tan complexion, forgive the grayscale, I have not had a chance to do his proper colored yet.
Fucking outrageous, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally watched you just like, before.
He is, despite his tan skin and the fact that his hair is coiffed back, besides like a slightly creeping hairline, he looks like he wouldn't be over a day 36, like, tops. And given his name, Becky, you know he's at least 300 years old.
Jesus.
Some process of making hunters just disconnects them entirely from their normal aging sequence.
Becky will hold up, like, the case of donuts and just be like, donut?
Well, don't mind me a bear claw, and just reaches over and grabs one. Alright, come on, this way then. I'm gonna guess that all of you are just, Are you new to this, or have you been doing this around? I haven't seen much hide nor tail of all of you in, well, Voyagers tend to make really big splashes wherever they go, and I haven't really heard much of you, save for a spot of bother on, I want to say it was, Barrel-din?
Barrel-dine?
Barrel-dine, that's the one. Yeah. What's your deal then?
That's just how good we are. We don't need to make big splashes.
Right. Well, that's fair, I suppose. I gotta say, I appreciate that, personally. I've dealt with a lot of folks who think they're hot shit, so it's nice to meet someone who's not.
Yeah, no, we're cold. We're cold shit.
Might not want to lean into that too hard, friend.
No.
I am newly joined to this group of people. Please don't paint me with that association.
Just know he doesn't speak for the group. That's fine.
Hey, don't worry about it, you're fine.
I thought I did. What?
Just like, I thought I was
Amaya's just gonna pat Louis very sympathetically, like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, Becky will offer him a donut, another one of the confections.
As you guys are walking through the halls, like, at this point, you're in, like, the main structure. You've entered in through that giant archway, and you're being sort of escorted by these guards. Make me awareness checks, anyone who's interested.
Oh boy. I think I had it.
Right.
Yes, I do.
Is that one of our dogs screaming, or is that somebody else's dog?
No, that's definitely my dog. Sorry, I didn't realize that was getting picked up.
Yeah.
On the mic.
Well, it's all right. It's not too bad. It's a distant
She's-
thing. It's not even peeking the mic. You're good. All right. So let's see. Well.
That was on the luck die.
Okay, that's good at
Thank
least.
God, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's a natural one. Oh no, that's a 19. So we have a 19. We have Zenith after your awareness mod. What is that?
8.
An 8. So a 19, an 8.
A 7 from me.
7 and JJ.
Mine is also 7.
Okay, cool. So, we'll start with Louis and Amaya. Both of you two, like, as you're walking around, you notice that, like, the hallway, this massive structure as you're leading into it, it is both well-guarded and relatively open. There are no security checkpoints, but there is in the center of, like, as you enter the room, this yellow strip of light that runs along the floor. It looks like running lights at first, but you see as people walk over it, the light changes color to a pale blue, and then goes back to yellow again. Probably some kind of security scanning device. Because on both ends of it, you can see a couple of soldiers just, like, hanging out. They're pretty quiet and calm. They're not haranguing anybody. Basically waiting for anyone to trip the alarm. Likely for presence of weapons. Which, by the way, as you walk over, the lights flash red. And indicate that, like, I'm going to presume every one of you is armed in some way, shape, or form. Unless you specifically state otherwise now that you are not. Consider this my real life, what do you have on you check.
I'm armed, yes.
A
Yeah.
spanner
I'm
wrench.
probably not without Becky, to be honest with you. Like,
Okay. So, Louis, you're not armed. Zenith, you're armed. I'm presuming you have your hacking kit on you, your hacking equipment.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that is 100% a lethal weapon, so it counts.
Yep, I got that.
apparently I also have a survival blade, which Yeah.
That's fair. I think that would trip it as well. Survival blades are like basically machetes. So they're like,
Yeah.
hand and a half knives, at least. Amaya, are you armed?
Yes, I'm strapped. I'm strapped.
Hell yeah. And Becky, what are you armed with?
She just has her spanner wrench, like.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that is literally like a
Yeah,
3-foot-long club. So,
Just like on the back, just in case.
yeah, that's fair. They would all register, all of you, like, register immediately, like, oh, armed. And then as the soldiers, like, look up to look in that direction, you see Gentry just sort of, like, look at both of them. Not even, like, a glare, just, like, a tired nod, and they all just sort of, like, relax again.
Becky's going, if you're okay with it.
Well, one
Okay,
second. I'm going to finish
yeah.
describing because you guys... That's what you guys at the baseline see. So, next step up, Zenith. Zenith, you see a little bit more. You actually see that behind those soldiers, in the dark of these alcoves, which are pretty big, like, they're not nearly as big as the massive room you're going through. But you can actually see behind that, as the guards sort of tense up, there's this brief, like, glow of a red optic that's at least about 15 feet tall from where the eye is sitting at. And then it immediately powers down as the guards, like, relax. So there's probably some kind of heavy, like, automated weapon system designed to take care of, like, really dangerous folks. Becky, you can see very clearly what it is. It's not automated. It's a person in there. Those are avatars. They have enough money to have 2 avatars just hanging out in the entranceway, kneeling with their weapons drawn, in case anything happens. Then that's basically their day. So their security detail looks like it's just 6 guys and just vibing. It's actually it's 6 guys and 2 Gundams basically just hiding in the corner, more or less. As you walk through, you guys go through a series of like of tunnels and walkways and walking paths till eventually you end up in front of an office. As you go up in the structure larger and larger, they become smaller and smaller, almost office space style environment, like really not that hard to like feel that. The only difference is the interior is actually open air to the outside. So like there's a nice cross breeze that goes through it. It actually smells rather nice right now. Almost like oak wood blowing through. And eventually you end up in front of a rather nondescript office. The only difference is that it has 2 security officers on the outside who, seeing Gentry approach, immediately stand down and just sort of pop to the sides and let you walk in. As Gentry knocks on the door. Ma'am, your guests are here. Mind if I let them in? Oh, yes, by all means. Please, feel free. Right, well, that's my job for the day. I'm going to be outside if you need me. And he just opens the door slowly. And if you do have any requests, please ask me. Don't just get up and leave. You are all of you VIPs. Unfortunately, I do have to keep an eye on you while you're in the building. Nothing personal.
Oh, you're actual security, not part of the job incoming. Gotcha.
No, I actually... I'm a hunter, little missy. I actually secure things.
Thank you, Thunderhouse. We'll let you know if we need anything.
Cheers. And he stands aside and lets all of you walk into the room.
Excellent.
Like, security here is garbage. We just said we were Voyagers.
Becky will just be
we
like...
didn't even ideas or anything. Like, we just walked past everybody. This is really easy. We could assassinate. Hi.
Yeah, but that's even after you calling yourself cold shit.
Well,
Yeah, that should have clued him in, if anything, but...
yeah,
Hey,
I mean...
to each his own.
Yeah.
So,
Just wanted to be ID.
I think Becky will raise her hand, just like, because the woman's right in front of us, right?
the room itself that you enter is a largely wooden room. Almost all the affectations are wood, with the exception of like some like simple gray plastic wall, almost like plaster plastic, somewhere between the two. You know how office buildings are built. It's hard to tell how much of it's carpet, how much of it's plastic, how much of it's actual stone. But the walls are mostly paneled in wood. And it's a relatively high room. On the far end, you can see what looks like an open... It almost looks like a balcony that steps outward, but it doesn't lead outside of the building because it goes into the core of it. Instead, it leads into what you see as this massive centrilocal chamber. It's almost half as wide as the building is, and it's open air. And you have a feeling that is the actual Parliament room. And that the path that goes beyond that, sloping downward, would eventually lead her to where she presides. The entire thing is built almost like a stepped pyramid, kind of. And she would sit over the entire proceedings from one side. But this all sort of opens into her room. And on the far side, there's a desk, and you can see a relatively slight woman sitting at that desk. She's got to be, like, again, in her mid-50s, just at a glance. But she's doing a pretty good job on her skincare routine. And it doesn't hurt the fact that she's also just blessed with the fact, one of those faces that doesn't age very much, besides a couple of minor wrinkles and that kind of thing. It's very clearly Sarah. Like, Maya, you've seen plenty of pictures of her at this point. And she's standing in a green robe and this almost sort of like layered kind of cloth. It almost, I would say it would be armor, but it's not. It's almost like a vest with shoulder pads lying over it. But yes, she's there, sitting in the room, like, just sort of bemusedly watching you all enter, holding what appears to be a pamphlet of, like, actual paper documents in her hand. Very weird for this era. Most people tend to use digital documentation for everything.
She's old school. All right.
I love that.
So Maya, as we step closer, Maya will look up and say, Prime Minister Ferrano, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to see us.
The pleasure is all mine, of course. I'm glad that you all arrived. I hope that getting here wasn't too difficult, and I apologize I wasn't able to extend an invitation to you further. We just had a rather messy meeting of our government, and, well, it's finally resolved, and I was able to pen you all in. So, welcome.
Those avatars aren't JSA manufactured, are they?
No. Those are made by the Alliance Industrial Corporation, but we don't go through the JSA to make those. I promise you, I'm not in the habit of contracting our security from folks who are our adversaries within the region. So, I figured we'd clear a little time off, because it only feels right that if you're going to be spending your time protecting the sector, that you at least meet the sector government in part. I would have gotten an entire parliamentary meeting for you, but that's damn near impossible if you know how Parliament functions, to get them to agree to do anything like that on that scale or speed. But private office time, I can manage that when I have it.
No, we completely understand. We are no strangers to how political affairs can be complex and complicated. I think this intimate setting is more appropriate for the things we need to discuss.
Very well. Well, if that's the case then, normally I would start with a spiel about the nature of our government and how we have ruled safely over this region for the better part of 100 years, and yada yada yada, but let's skip past that, shall we? You're not tourists, and I have no interest in giving you a tour. If you want that, please feel free to bug Thunderhouse when he comes back. He's paid more than enough money to stand around and point things out on plaques. But I am busy doing the tasks that eventually get put on those plaques.
So what are your main concerns?
My main concerns are I want to know who I'm going to be working with. The Parliament needs to know who you are, what you stand for, what your perspective is on the sector. As I understand, you've been here for a few weeks now, so I'm certain you've met a fair few representatives from our other regional partners. And she says that with, like, a little grin. Make me an awareness check. Specifically you, Amaya. You can also use your negotiator dice if you'd like.
Okay. That's my negotiator. And that's my... Oh, my negotiator and my look are the same. Okay. So that will be... Yeah, just a 9.
Okay, well, your negotiating die actually adds on to it. It's a modifier.
Oh. So then that's I know math. 8. That's 11.
Yes. And what's your modifier from awareness?
It's, let me see. Hold on. Yeah, it's intellect plus 3. So I rolled a 6. Plus a 3 is a 9.
Oh, okay. Oh, you factored it in. Okay, I thought that was just a 9. All right, fair. I have my dice roller. It was covering up the top of the modifier. Okay, cool. All right, so it's an 11.
Yeah.
Just at a glance, you can see immediately, Amaya, that's the term she uses to refer to the JSA and to the Common Ocean people. Regional partner.
Regional partners.
A very sanitized term for a very loaded relationship.
Yeah, very diplomatic response.
I'm sure after meeting with them, you probably have a fair few questions or concerns you'd like to raise, and I would like to hear your perspective on things so far. I'm sure you've been mulling about, and you've probably heard a fair few things about us from our other local friends and neighbors.
Yes, we've met with some of the Common Oceans. We've also met with the JSA. I can say that it seems like no one really has a shining opinion of the other partners that you speak of.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, that is the nature of a divided sector, isn't it? You learn very quickly working in the field that I do that people who end up protecting people beneath them, people who end up in halls of power, very rarely do so without very quickly building big egos for themselves. And it's very hard to stand in a room with people who are your equals and feel the need to acknowledge it, if not constantly question it. And in this case, unfortunately, the JSA and the Common Ocean people are always spoiling for a firefight. So, of course, they're not going to be very generous in their opinion of us. We're the ones they want to shoot at half the time. I get it.
And what exactly is your opinion of them?
I think it's important for me to tell you, I don't hate the Common Ocean people in any way, shape, or form. My family is Common Ocean. I'm 3 mothers Common Ocean. And it wasn't until my mother moved us into the Evanti Parliament, into the Evanti Sector proper, that we became what you would call Evanti now. So I very much respect my people. But that is what they are. They are my people. And they are, I fear, chasing a dangerous path into an uncertain future. I think the Common Ocean's a very noble goal that is very naive, if I'm being completely honest with you.
You believe that their idea to govern themselves instead of being part of a governing body is naive?
I think the idea of self-governance is important. I'm also not dumb enough to believe that when you get to a certain size, local governance becomes unwieldy. I'm sure, having met the Common Oceans, you didn't meet them all at once. You didn't exactly have a central place to meet. They don't exactly have a prime minister.
It was kind of fun.
It can be until you're trying to get something done, I would dare say. And when lives are on the line and time is of the essence, having a clear hierarchy has advantages. And they don't have one. They are constantly infighting with themselves.
I don't want to be picky, but you just said you couldn't arrange a meeting.
You're not wrong. I'm not saying our form of government is perfect either. The difference is I don't need to go through the whole of Parliament to do basic day-to-day functions of government. Whereas for the Common Ocean people, if they want to affect anything in the sector, they have to go through the entire Common Ocean commune, basically.
At least you know because it affects them directly, they get a say.
They get a say here too. People get to vote for us. We are a parliament. When things don't work out, the parliament dissolves and they get to vote for us again. I'm only 50. I've been re-elected 4 times. That doesn't include the first election. That doesn't exactly speak of a static government, does it? Sounds to me like my people trade is in as much robust representation as yours does. At least what the common notion would. But it's not perfect, and no system of government is. We just admit that ours isn't. Right off the rip.
And you're not so oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I want to hear your question fast.
Oh no, I thought Lolly was saying something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, sorry. And you're not concerned about overreach of your own?
I would be. If there was a government to parley with. That's the issue. For overreach to happen, it means that you need to have someone you're overreaching to do that, right? I need to have someone present. The Common Ocean people actively refuse centralized leadership. Who do I meet for treaty negotiations? Some 5,000 plus individual speakers one at a time? I'm not the JSA. I don't go around handing out contracts to take advantage of local people. That's not my job. I'm not a door-to-door salesman. I'm trying to manage an entire region. And if an entire region chooses to not have a centralized government to negotiate with, then they are effectively an unincorporated territory. But they still fall under our auspices. As far as I'm concerned, they are all of them Evanti citizens. When they choose to be. Most of them don't choose to be. The problem is when they do, and they want the benefits and none of the responsibility that comes inherent with that. They want us to provide them aid relief, they want us to provide them with resources, they want us to keep the JSA from haranguing them, which, for the record, I want that too. Very much so. I very much want to put a thumb on the JSA. They've been effectively ruling their sectors like kings and fiefdoms for quite some time, and I'm rather not okay with that. I'm sure you wouldn't be alright if a business decided it was going to become a government. It's basically what the JSA are. They're an entire planet that turned themselves into a business, and now they made it all of our problem. So, we do what we can. If the Evanti don't have anyone to partner with, we operate as what it is, our territory. We do our best to respect local customs and to meet them where they're at, but if they don't want to meet us and then they want things from us... And she gives this little short shrug. My hands are kind of tied here.
What are the responsibilities that you would expect the Common Oceans to have or participate in exchange for the benefits that you feel like you provide or they would want provided?
That's fair. First, if they want to be independent, they need representation. That's really the first and most important detail. Anarchists love their anarchy until someone else comes into the room and makes it more complicated. I need someone, a regional partner I can work with. Someone that the entirety of the Common Ocean people can put their weight behind. I don't care if it's a speaker, a sitting representative, whatever. But if they can all agree on a singular entity for us to negotiate with, we've got half of our problems already solved. And that would be incredibly easy for us.
So you haven't participated in one of their group meetings?
I'm not a speaker.
You don't have to make it sound like it's an AA meeting. Like, it's... Yeah.
We have tried to send representatives to these commune speakerships, to these councils. We can send diplomats. They insist to speak to our leaders. We send our leaders, they insist on speaking to local leaders because they don't recognize our overarching authority of our region. How do I negotiate with that? They want diplomats, but they throw away my diplomats because they speak for too many people? That doesn't really work for us. I respect their form of governance. It works for small things, but it makes statecraft damn near impossible.
And you've explained that you're elected by...
They're not idiots. They know how a parliamentary government works. Many of them fled them, or fled other forms of government. They know how we function. We're not just... I mean, you've seen where we're meeting. And she just sort of gestures out the window. It's the biggest building in the city, and the entirety of the lowest floor is open to the public. So long as you're not armed, anyone can come in and see how we meet. That's part of our whole purpose of this building. It's not a secret. They just don't want to participate in it. And that gives us a serious issue, because they pose a threat to us. Their settlements have become more and more unstable in their years. Their corsairs have begun to raid into Evanti regions and settlements, and they continue to prod the JSA into increasingly violent action against them. And we can't be there to protect the entirety of the Common Ocean people for them, and frankly, we don't anymore. For a while, we ran interference, quietly, but it became very abundantly clear that the Common Oceans are starting 1,000 fires all over their side of the sector and in JSA space. And if we just had our fleet running around putting them out all the time, we wouldn't have soldiers, we'd have firefighters. We'd be constantly handling their mistakes. And I have no one to directly complain to. And if I go to a world, if I send diplomats and an armed response force to a world to inform them that their actions are endangering the peace of the sector, they, I would say, reasonably view that as a threat. Because I sent a warship into orbit over them. But they don't respect anything less than that. I'm working with what I can here. They're not giving me much.
Okay, so that's your opinion on the Common Ocean side. Like, they don't have a representative for you to negotiate with. Yeah, kind of fair enough. It's going to be hard to make peace with 5,000 people who all want an equal voice. Get that. What about the other side? The business folks? Like, what's your main problem with them?
The JSA pose a problem, and it's a significant one. The Joint Syndicate Alliance is the largest gathering of businesses in the sector, and also on top of that, our primary liaison between us and the businesses of the greater galaxy. They put themselves there as a go-between, and they let no other businesses operate within the sector if they don't at least work in part with the JSA, or at least contract through them. They're a monopoly in that way. They don't represent us, and they don't answer to us. They view themselves as their own business interests. They are a very large, very well-funded, very annoying Common Ocean commune. And they act like it. I don't mind business interests if they serve the people. They want the people to serve their business interests. And when we attempt to legislate upon their powers, impinge on what they view as their right to exploit a region without restraint, well, they see very little distinction between business and warfare. Sort of becomes a mess very quickly. Unfortunately, they're legitimate enough where I can't pretend that we don't work with them to a degree. We have to. If we want resources, food. This building wasn't built by the JSA explicitly, but contractors that absolutely do work under the JSA's auspices. Like, we have them. It has to happen. Or else nothing would be built. the entire sector would just be a waste, or nothing bigger than the common oceans. Our starships are of our design. Our avatars are made with external consultants, but even when we hire our own businesses and enterprise, we build our own military-industrial complex to do it, I still need workers and guilders to manage those systems. Resources to come from somewhere. Those go to the JSA. So, could we theoretically engage in a significant act of policing on the JSA? Certainly. We have the fleet to do it. And we'd immediately go into famine and economic collapse as they tighten their reins.
Unless we gave you the means not to.
If you have another business alternative for me, by all means, please. If you can feed an entire sector with a snap of a finger.
How many
I don't think you brought enough donuts, Becky. Like,
she's going to just ignore that, be like, pinch the bridge of her nose for a second, and just because like she's reflecting about how they were both on Barreldyne and like literally saw the terraforming as they left. I'd have to talk to my team, but we can see what solutions we have.
If you could feed 2 trillion individuals with a conversation with your team, I'm interested.
If you have a map of your current territories that are not contested, and the worlds that you currently are viable, and then those that aren't, you can probably workshop that. She's
looking at you very intensely now. Very intensely. You're being serious, aren't you?
I don't like the JSA. I'm not going to pretend I do. I don't think it's good for anyone to have a monopoly on food or basic necessities. So I would rather you be free from that.
We do have certain, we have our own internal markets and our own internal economy. It's just unfortunately dependent on them, yes. I have to ask then, how would a team of, 5 mainline Voyagers and several support staff on a ship less than 200 people strong have a means of feeding 2 trillion?
Amaya's gonna look at Becky.
Yeah, she's looking at Amaya like,
Zenith's sort of looking over, because Zenith doesn't know what you're on about.
Yeah.
I do, but Zenith, so she's looking at you like, are you on something?
just like, are you on drugs? No. She's just gonna sip her like hot cocoa with the little whiskey in it as she looks at Amaya like,
Amaya's gonna look at Becky because she's gonna be like, I understand you're trying to help, but sometimes you say more than you need to. And I will look at
Well, to be fair, like above table, to be fair, if Gentry, the security guard, knew about Barreldyne, even if I don't know if he was playing like vagueness, or if that's how they know us. I would assume that she knows.
That's fair. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think that anyone would know, because what happened in Barreldyne was basically that we used the Stellar Forge to basically clean Barreldyne. I don't know exactly how many people know about that information in terms of, not about the Stellar Forge, but about what we did on Barreldyne, because a lot of that was cloaked in what I would assume would be classified information.
I'm gonna make this very clear for all of you to be aware of the scope of how Barreldyne is. Barreldyne is a world of a few thousand people. The majority of them are in stasis, and the actual planet itself had maybe under 10,000 on the entire world, on ground doing their things. Most of them scattered in communities less than 500 strong. Maybe 3 of them would have seen you leaving orbit. I guarantee you none of them had any idea what you did.
Yeah,
they don't even know it was you, probably. Because in truth, there's only 3 other people on that world, unaccounted for right now, that know you possess a stellar forge.
Oh yeah, Sage and the other director.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not Sage. Sorry, that was the last one.
No, you're right. But it's
No,
the.
you're right, Sage.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
No,
Arctis.
Sage was on.
Yeah.
Sage was on.
Stormdrum.
Stormdrum.
Stormdrum. You're right.
Still, that's the two leaders of your immediate settlement, again, under 500 people, and only 2 of them were ever aware you had a stellar forge or what it was. And that fascist that snuck in with you all.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that know that you had a stellar forge and are probably responsible. For the rest of the planet, that was a literal fucking miracle.
Yeah.
And no one has any idea what
So
caused
yeah,
it.
no one's put it together. Gotcha. So no one's put it together that like the obvious.
No.
As far as
No
you
one
know.
no one even knows about what happened on Baradine except for the people who live on Baradine, basically. Like,
Yeah, probably. Like, honestly, for a lot of other people around the world, around the galaxy, they'd be like, oh, weird. Like, I guess they just had a really good year of terraforming. Went from, like, nothing to something. You know.
0 to hero.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, there you go.
Becky, I don't think we should start making promises we can't keep.
I'm not making promises. I'm just saying we could work solutions.
Right. Amaya's gonna look at Prime Minister Sarah and just be like, if you get us the schematics, we could potentially come up with a plan for you to either start your own crops or something. We could try to help you come up with a solution in order to get rid of the JSA. We cannot promise anything, but our crew has been resourceful in the past in terms of, you know, boosting the independence of certain planets. So if that's something you would like help with, we could try to help. If not, it's totally understandable.
That's
As
fair.
to how exactly we would do that, we don't have an answer for you at this time.
Like the actual politician.
Zenith is going to really just somewhat subtly just sort of reach over to Becky's drink and just be like, like, are you what?
There's alcohol in this.
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking like this?
I have a quick question. If you had to remove either the JLA or the Common Oceans people, who would you remove?
Who would I remove? Well, first off,
Let's assume first. Like, who would you remove first?
let me first say that I have no interest in removing anyone in the sector. This is our home. All of our home. We deserve to live in it together. It's the entire purpose of the Evanti. It's just we have some very uncooperative neighbors. But if I had to choose a political force to negate, in a heartbeat, I would negate the JSA. In a heartbeat. Now, if I could find a way to codify the Common Ocean people into something more solid, that'd be great. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, we're working on a timer here. And every year it gets shorter. And every year we don't solve this problem is a year we're closer to sector collapse. And I don't want to see that. So neither of these forces are good. If the JSA was to remain without the Common Ocean people, they would continue to do what they do until they force our hand and we open into a war. If we leave the Common Ocean people alone, and they continue to do what they do, eventually they'll view what we are doing as overreach. And they will resist violently. And a guerrilla warfare scattered across several hundred stars racks up quite a body count. So yes, I would remove the JSA as a political threat. But both of these groups pose a very real existential threat to trillions of lives.
What do you say to those two groups when they say you're the threat?
I tell them to look in a mirror. The Avanti don't go into their territory to start wars. When we send collectors to collect taxes, those are from worlds that have volunteered to join the Avanti, from settlements that have volunteered to join the Avanti. So we send our collectors there. When they request our resources, we send them. We're not the ones bombing JSA refineries. We're not the ones leading campaigns into Common Ocean territory to enslave locals. That's not us. We're the third neighbor on the block, watching the Hatfields and the McCoys fight it out. We just don't want them to set fire to something that'll catch the entire fucking neighborhood down. That's what we're looking at. Last time we ran Bets and Hiss, 30 years. That is the most secret thing I can tell you right now. We haven't told the populace we've ran that equation again. 30 years. 30 years till a mass death event. And to quantify that for you, a mass death event for the sector would imply over 25% lethality, at least 35% casualty, approximately 75% infrastructure denial or destruction. Entire worlds will starve when the JSA and the Common Ocean people finally stop playing at being governments and warmongers and become them. And when they do, it'll be our fleets and our citizens that pay the price for their hubris. If you have a family member and they're drinking themselves to death, that's their business. You can be concerned, you can want to help. But if they don't want your help, there's only so much you can do. Now, when that person is an angry drunk, they start threatening your friends and family, that's not the sort of problem you let someone else have. That's the sort of problem you solve. We have two neighbors that are spread haphazardly across the region. The JSA have their holdings scattered across Common Ocean space and even into our territory, and the Common Ocean people recognize no borders, and any world that sends a speaker becomes Common Ocean. Any world, any settlement. You know how difficult it is to govern a world when 500 people get a bug up their ass and decide to send a speaker out and suddenly they're an independent nation as far as they're concerned? Imagine if your neighborhood decided to send someone to your local government and they became their own nation. Every time. That's what I deal with. On a weekly basis. Avanti worlds. Except one part of it, now that's not Avanti. And they act like they've always not been. Or a world that decides to become Avanti. But 30% of the population doesn't recognize that change because they have no centralized leadership, even on their worlds. The hell am I supposed to do about that? How do you, at any level, organize around that? It's impossible. That's what we're dealing with. I'm dealing with two forces sprinting towards war with each other, and who both of them view us as an existential threat because we represent something that neither of them are interested in committing to, which is working as a larger group. The JSA wants to be left alone. They want to exploit the sector. Oversight is not a thing that they like. And the Common Oceans want to be left alone. But you can't exist in a community alone. That's not possible. And I'm the sucker at the top telling both of them to play nice.
And the Union wants you to join as well.
Oh, I want the Union here. I am begging for the Union here. But the Union will not step in until we have a plurality of the region. We need well over 75% compliance before they are willing to view us as the sector government. I have 33%.
Well, isn't that just nicely divided out?
It works. The math is rough, but that's approximate.
Couple of quick questions. Again, because this is a chat, and that's how they work. If you said that you've been re-elected 4 times. This is your 5th term in 50 years. Is that right?
Yes. And actually 30. The first 20 years of my life were a lot less publicly aligned, if you catch my meaning.
Okay. Sounds suspicious when you phrase it like that.
I was a kid and I went to college there.
Less suspicious. Fine. If couple of do they vote for you as a person or you as a party?
They vote for us as a party, but I am a representative within it, so they vote for me directly within my territory. The Accordists choose me as their prime minister.
Stunning. So British Parliament more than American.
Yes.
Government. That's fine. And if you consider everybody to be part of the Evanti system, is that right? That includes accommodations and the JLA?
Yes, the JSA, yes.
Do they... JSA, sorry.
Sorry.
It's Justice Society of America? Or
Justice League of America, yeah.
That's the only way I can remember their 3 initials. How do they vote? Like, do they take up that opportunity to vote in this parliament?
No. The JSA sends us representatives. They repeatedly state they are not a government, and they have no purpose being a government, even though they operate like a government, run entire worlds, have their own police and enforcement brigade and their logistics division, and maintain several fleet strengths, which is a significant issue. And they run their own foreign policy in regards to the common oceans. So, sure, they're not a nation except when it suits them. And as for the common oceans, they, on principle, don't send representatives.
Yeah, well, they don't have representatives because they send like 5,000 people.
They have their speakers, but they send their speakers to Kamino, not here. And they don't want us to hold session on Kamino, which, in fairness, I don't want to run session on Kamino. I can't imagine running a session of Parliament in that mess.
Yeah, no. That's fine.
Do you have any more questions?
I do have one, yes, sorry. If the people voted to disassemble your government, i.e. the people voted to become Common Ocean, let's say, or re-become Common Ocean, would you accept that?
That's how governments work, although it'd be much more difficult than that. Truth of the matter is, there's not a government that's ever been made that has a ripcord on its own existence. Sure, you have some states that insist that, oh, yes, we have the right to secede from our greater union or a greater oversight. That's not at all enforceable. In order for a government to function, it needs to have, at very least, within its own territory, absolute control. That is how a government functions. It doesn't need to have absolute domination over each of its citizens, but its dominion has to be secure. You can't just say, oh, well, you can be part of it until you don't want to be, because then they aren't when they need to be. I would be open to it, but it would be a mess of legislation. You'd be basically asking the government to kill itself. I don't know of a mechanism to do that doesn't involve violent revolution or active, intentional mismanagement. Neither is particularly good. I also don't see that as a possibility, but if we're doing the thought experiment and my nation just said I don't want to exist anymore, then I'd be disappointed immensely, but I would agree to it.
Okay. Yes, I've finished my questions now. My apologies.
Maya, you're the negotiator, right? What do you have to say?
I had a question in terms of you express your concerns over holding, Parliament, holding a session on Camino. Have you ever invited any of the speakers? I understand that you say there are 5,000 of them, but we've also managed to meet with a few of them. Have you ever, or even extended, just even an open I guess, party invitation
Yes.
to any of the Caminotion speakers to come here and speak?
Yes. Multiple times. Every once in a while, we do get one or two of, what do they call themselves? The oratore? The ones who are the really vocal ones. They love to occasionally come here and visit and speak, and some of them even do a good song and dance, but then they go back, and nothing ever comes of it.
Would you be open to... You mentioned earlier about dealing with the common oceans would be a lot easier if you had a singular entity, a singular representative that you could speak to. If there were, say, a council of common ocean speakers limited to a reasonable number, would you be willing to work with them
Yes.
in that capacity?
Absolutely. That's a government by council, and 100% something I can negotiate with.
Okay.
Good luck getting them down to a few dozen people that everyone respects, but if you can do it, by all means. You've already offered one miracle, I'll take another.
I think I'll of course speak with my group, but I feel like there are a couple of ideas that we have that could benefit everyone. It's just a matter of whether or not people would want to cooperate with our ideas. But we are pretty persuasive. So I think we may be able to sway a couple people to make a couple compromises here and there that are not too great of losses for each party. Well, I can't really say that for the JSA, but I think at least for Parliament and the common oceans, I think that we may be able to come up with a couple of different solutions that could make you two working together more harmonious, if you will.
That would be lovely. If you can get me inroads, I would be good with that.
Yes, I think the biggest thing is that I believe that you're correct in your assessment of the JSA. I believe that one of the biggest things missing is that there's not really any checks and balances, and that's a big problem. But we can brainstorm a couple of different ideas and figure out. Our main goal here is to stabilize this entire region. As you are well aware, as you've already stated, the conflicts between all three groups, and the fact that the Union has taken notice, and refuses to really step in until, like you've said, that there's some stability here in this region. Now, I did have an additional question.
Okay.
Do you have a body here within your government or any specialists who are handling any type of, anti-terrorist organizations, or, is there a body that you guys have access to that's doing that?
We do. At the moment, it's currently being led by, you already met him, Gentry. Okay. Thankfully, that was one of the most difficult parts of establishing the Evanti, to be completely honest. We were building a government out of whole cloth, and one of the toughest parts of building a government is building its security apparatus. That takes time and respect. Thankfully, with Gentry, we managed to manufacture both in a short period of time. And as a hunter, he's very used to operating with much small teams. Now that our larger security apparatus is complete and we have many fleet strengths at our disposal, Gentry's been largely retasked to individual conflicts. At the moment, he's currently in the process of attempting to uproot a series of dangerous... what would be a very nice term for them? They're not dissidents because they're not ours. Terrorists, I suppose? I always try to find a better word than that, but...
Insurgents, perhaps?
Insurgents would be a good term for it, but insurgency implies that there are citizens fighting us. They come from elsewhere.
Yes.
From what we've seen, they've engaged in multiple strikes in Evanti space, mostly against spaceports and certain infrastructure that have been slowing our ability to build our presence on the edges of our territory to a crawl. At first, I thought they might just be common ocean corsairs, but that doesn't seem to be their MO to be messing with us for the most part. And we doubt it's the JSA because they don't play those sort of games the same way. This feels like it's something else. And it's becoming a persistent pain in my ass.
Well, not that it's great that that's a pain in your ass, but that does work in our favor. We happen to have some information from some of our other adventurers, previous adventures or previous journeys, that maybe if we link up with Gentry, with your permission, of course, we can share some of that information and perhaps take care of that issue as soon as possible.
Certainly. That would be absolutely delightful. If you'd like, I'd be happy to have you meet with Gentry immediately after this meeting. He has nothing else planned today that can't be moved around. I'm sure he doesn't
That would
mind.
be wonderful, actually. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I suppose that is all I really have to say unless you have any other questions for me. My line is officially open to you. I want you to know that I can't always promise the Parliament will be available to speak. They're busy. And governing over, what is it again? 2 trillion, 2.5 trillion individuals? That's a full-time job. Even for me. But you can call this line anytime you'd like. And she slides across her wrist link, and all your wrist links light up as a new contact appears. That's my personal line. Not directly to me, mind you, because I'm not insane enough to hand that out to a bunch of armed soldiers. Even Voyagers, nothing personal, but I've had several attempts on my life just in the past few years. I'm not interested in getting more. But that will directly reach me.
Perfect. Thank you. So we will meet with Gentry. We'll share some information, and I'm sure he'll give you a debrief about the information that we share, and if we come up with any plans on how to counter the terrorist group. As far as our earlier discussion, as Becky stated, if you could get us, I don't know if we talked to a secretary or a librarian or some sort of record keeper, but if you can get us, if we can have access to that information about the territories that you own that are not contested, we can see what we can do in terms of helping, giving you a little bit of leverage from the JSA.
Certainly, I'd be happy to oblige. Well, if that's the case then, let me get a few people together and I'll get you a dossier and we can get you started. She slowly sits herself up and she just sort of stretches her back a little bit. Clearly she's stiff from being in the chair for as long as she is. It's a pleasure to work with you, Fire Team. Forge Tender, I believe, is what it is again. Truly a pleasure. And at this point,
Pleasure's ours.
in the distance, you hear a boom,
Oh no.
and the ground shakes a little bit. And you can see that Sarah's hand immediately goes to the table, and her eyes sort of like open up, and she sort of looks left to right. That wasn't just my hips giving out, right? You felt that.
Yeah, we definitely felt that.
Indeed.
And at this point, there's like a bang on the door, and at first it sounds like someone's knocking until there's a crunch as the hand goes through it.
Spanner wrench.
Yeah, and the door just gets sort of slammed open, and on the other side, you can actually see Gentry, literally, like, augmented hand having ripped the door from its hinges. Ma'am, we need to go, now. We need to get you into a secure location. Voyagers, I don't know what your level of readiness is, but if you have the ability to fight, you might want to. We need to go, now. Then at this point, Sarah just sort of like looks back and forth. Yes, of course. What happened, Gentry? Someone just struck the spaceport. As far as we can tell, 2 ships, and it looks like one of them's going to go supercritical. We need to get you underground now. All of you are welcome to join us if you'd like. Just be aware, they're going to be a lot less nice about it than I am if you don't move your ass. And at this point, he reaches over and sort of grabs, you can see he sort of grabs Sarah by the shoulder and begins to like walk her out of the room. Not really waiting for her anymore, more like puppeting her out the door. And
Yeah.
as he does, you can see soldiers begin to sprint by in Evanti gear, all carrying weapons. And in the distance, where you guys parked your ship, you can see smoke rising from the building. And that is where we're going to end our session for the day.
No.
Dang, the big boom.
That's stressful.
That's okay. We had a couple repairs.
Time to go beat somebody up. Oh my boy.
I really hope Necky's okay.
I've already broken one of your mechs. I might break another one, but I'm gonna make a point of trying to hopefully not do it when you're at least not in it. I promise. I'll try that at least. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in again and for playing with me. I appreciate you all. You're all incredible. I suppose this is where we wrap up. Normally, I would say everyone say who you are and what you do, but I have a better choice for all of you. All of you folks who've been watching this all the way through, please do me a favor. Go follow, subscribe right now, hit the like button, all that fun stuff. We're on YouTube. That's how YouTube lives or dies. And we are building up this brand new channel, so the more likes and follows and subs we can get, the closer we can get to actually being able to do fun stuff, like having unique emotes, having you guys be able to maybe interact with us directly again. I would love that. And further, every single one of the folks in this stream, with the exception of my incredible partner Lee, is a creator of some stripe or sort, and all their information is right below in the doobly-doo. So, open up the description, find where you can find them. My incredible friend Paul Ampersand is even on YouTube, and has his own really cool YouTube that he's running a bunch of APs and content creation on. It's really good! Go give him a follow and a like. And, on top of that, all the music you heard on the stream today can be found right below in the doobly-doo as well, as we use nothing but free-to-use music with rights. So, everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm the last Omnitect, and thank you for tuning in to Unicorn Head Studios. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands,
Jazz
me.
hands, they gotta be jazz hands.